Hello everyone, Skippy here, and welcome to the first of my One Piece anime breakdowns, in which we'll be covering One Piece episode 891, which is a very monumental episode. Kazuya Hisada, a renowned and respected animator hailing from Seigasha who's been with the One Piece TV anime all the way since episode 1, and has been the CD for 10 years, is vacating his position with the start of Wano to give the role to young animator Midori Matsuda. Hisada, who also supervised this episode, has been a great help to the anime in more ways than one by sticking close to Eiichiro Oda's original art for his character design and supervision, as well as providing a fair bit of Sakuga with his ever so charming style. Though he may have decayed a bit in terms of art in recent years, especially when you look at the corrections on display from Chief Animation Supervisor Keiichi Ichikawa, Hisada has been a huge asset to the TV anime, so this is quite a huge episode in that respect. However, he's not the only one vacating a position. Fan favorite series director Toshinori Fukuzawa, who also directed and storyboarded this episode, is also leaving his position starting with Wano. Fukuzawa started directing the anime on his own with episode 680 and has since directed quite a few great episodes, such as the Sakuga-packed episode 856 and the touching and heartbreaking 877. Both serving as huge episodes for the Whole Cake Island arc. Now, with two strong staff members on board like this, you'd think the episode would be a very enjoyable one, and I must say, despite a very slow first half, they absolutely nailed it, and we're going to be taking a look at just how this episode fares. Now, in the grand scheme of things, this episode doesn't stray too far away from the manga, as it's almost a one-for-one adaptation of the corresponding chapter with a few small changes, ranging from small additions like Nami beating up Brook as well as Sanji and a small bit of Zoe recap, to big additions like a good amount of the wave section. This episode's additions are very sporadic but needed in order to extend the chapter into a whole 20 or so minute episode. The recap wasn't entirely the end of the world, as it was very short compared to Reverie's half episode long recaps, and the added scenes only helped add to the experience, with the added sections like the octopus's several yos being a whole lot of fun and a very clever addition on Fukuzawa's part. He even added a section with the whirlpool part at the end where the crew tries to make their way out of it, so it doesn't feel as abrupt like it did in the manga. All in all, I'd say that the adaptation from manga to anime was very well done this episode, and while the first half was a bit slow, the second half was chock full of enough cool filler scenes to make it worth the wait in my book, and come on, who doesn't love the absolutely jamming brand new Japanese OST? Storyboard-wise, I would definitely say that it's an episode of two halves. While a good amount of the first half is devoted to very pedestrian-looking shots and shots that are lifted directly from the manga, the second half takes what the manga did and turns it up to 11, with this entire portion of the episode really making you feel the grand scale of this battle that the Straw Hats are fighting with the wave. While not going too overboard and staying within the confines of the scene, even if it does kind of make it feel as if the episode is very split in that regard, likely due to the material that Fukuzawa had to work with being rather small, which is a roadblock that a lot of the One Piece episode directors face when adapting an episode. Regardless of that though, the board does the chapter justice, I feel, and while it is absolutely not Fukuzawa's best entry on the series board-wise, it's still a cool visual treat more often than not, and is great to see after quite a few months of very middle-of-the-road Reverie episodes. Much like the rest of the episode, the highlights in terms of art and animation are mostly in the second half of the episode, but that doesn't mean the first half doesn't have some cool tidbits to talk about, as Hisada's art is actually not as much of a driving force of it as I thought, since the ever-so-loved Chief Animation Supervisor Keiichi Ichikawa corrects a good amount of Hisada's art within the episode. It's not throughout the whole episode, of course, as there's quite a bit of Hisada left in there, and to be fair, his art is rather good here. But for such a big episode, I would have thought that we'd see more of his own corrections, but it's not too big of a deal in my opinion, as the real strengths of the episode comes from the key animators on it, which despite being full of talents like Hisada himself, Masahiro Shimanuki, and Masahiro Kitazaki, it's really only two of three current titans of the One Piece anime that stand out, and those are Katsumi Ishizuka and Yoshikazu Tomita. Ishizuka handles a filler scene when the Straw Hats are in a bit of a pinch with the waves, and while it is very random and quite a small scene, it's got some really nice harmony cells towards the start, and it is absolutely nice to see Ishizuka's great wave animation, smears, and amazing character art with his Luffy just looking so much like Noburo Koizumi, the anime's original character designer with whom he takes after. But it's actually Tomita's work that is the main highlight of the episode animation-wise, as he handles Luffy bringing the gang up the mountain and into Wano, and by god is it just so full of life. Tomita's very mech-like character art and movement is all over the scene, and while it doesn't move at every second like a lot of Tomita's other work, it is packed to the brim with excellent expressions and lively movement when it is. And even Hisata just can't correct the very risque bodies that he gives to Nami and Carrot. While these two scenes are definitely very good and were some very nice eye candy Sakuga-wise, it's kind of surprising how most of the KAs on here didn't do anything that was super noteworthy. Shimanuki did a bit of the carps flopping out of the water, and it's as stiff and robotic as you can get from him, but Masahiro Kitazaki only did a dialogue-heavy scene at the end with the whirlpool, and Hisata's KA, while spread throughout the entire episode, wasn't all that exciting in my opinion. It's really Ishizuka and Tomita that absolutely sell the animation here, and that's perfectly fine, considering that the episode didn't require much Sakuga outside of their scenes, and it still very much so gave a nice farewell to the two juggernauts for the anime that make up this episode's primary staff. Now, I fully expect Hisata to come back around in a later episode as a key animator, and it's been stated that Fukasawa will remain on the team as an episode director. It's still bittersweet seeing the two leave their positions, even if they're giving them to some very talented people, with next week's episode being the start of Tatsuya Nagamine and Midori Matsuda's run as series director and character designer respectively, and it looks about as good as you'd expect, and I cannot wait to dive into this next chapter of the One Piece anime after this episode gave a very fond farewell to the past 10 years of it. Anyways guys, that's it for now. I'm Skippy, and get ready to don your samurai gear as next week, we finally head into the highly anticipated Wano arc.